Something weird happened to me. I was showing an anime to people who, at the time, I considered friends, and they didn't like it. Now, I've known these people for a while now, and they've seen most, if not all, of the videos on both of my channels. They know this nigga don't miss. So, when I decided to grace them with an actual good anime to watch instead of whatever garbage they're used to, I thought they'd be more grateful, but no, they just throw it back in my face. They bit the hand that fed them, and now that same hand is gonna slap their shit in. The anime we're discussing today is The World God Only Knows. If you're a true believer, then you can go watch it right now and have a grand old time. But for the unfaithful few among us, here's a quick plot synopsis. There's not gonna be any major spoilers, so don't worry. The World God Only Knows is a harem anime, which means it's also a comedy anime, which means it's also set in a school. The defining gimmick of the show is that the protagonist Kama is the god of dating sims, but finds himself having to make real women fall in love with him. Now, to me, the merits of this premise are obvious, but apparently, they're not to some people, and now I have to go in excruciating detail to explain why this is a special case in the harem genre. I'm so sorry if you're not a mouth breather and you understand this already, but we employ a no child left behind policy on this channel. My point here is that the show manages to stand apart from its contemporaries despite occupying a hypersaturated market. Let's start with the subjective stuff, which I would normally skip, but I was told the show looks objectively bad. Now, we all know that the person who said that is an idiot, right? I will fight every possible interpretation of that claim that the show looks bad. The character designs are by Akira Watanabe and it was animated by Manglobe. If you're saying that the character designer for the Monogatari series and the studio that made Samurai Champloo can't make a decent looking show, then I don't know what to tell you. A much more reasonable but equally moronic complaint I got was that it looks just like every other modern anime. At the time, I fought this claim harder than I'm about to right now, but in the half hour since that argument, I've calmed down a bit. So yes, The World God Only Knows does look a lot like other modern anime. However, if you have ever allowed those words or any variation of that sentiment to escape your lips in an attempt to criticize an anime, you should not be allowed to breed. I believe that you should be chemically or physically castrated in order to preserve the intelligence of future generations. We can all point towards Western cartoons as shining examples of unique character designs and shame Japan for conformity, but let's actually try and have a meaningful discussion for once. Can you do that, champ? Can you level with me, sport? If you take a screenshot of a random anime, 9 times out of 10, it's impossible to tell what that character is from. There's a lot of anime out there, and there's a lot of generic looking girls in those anime. Even with the usual deviations in art styles, the most surefire way to have your anime character stand out is with either A, a really well thought out character design with multiple elements that make the individual stand out while not being overly garish and distracting, or B, let's just put a bow on her. But Dune, look at this girl, she has a big dumb thing on. This disproves your whole point. No. Because Elsie's raiment is not just some random design element manufactured for marketing purposes. That's what her little skull is for. The skull is a character logo, like the logos on Goku's shirt or the butterfly in Seina's hair. The overall character design can function without those particular aspects, but they are easily identifiable supplements. On the opposite end of the spectrum are character design details that are the sole defining aspect of the character. As long as Hatsune Miku has those long pigtails, you can tell it's supposed to be Hatsune Miku, even when you change everything else about her design. Elsie's raiment falls in the middle. For most of the series, she's either wearing a school uniform or traditional Japanese clothing, and her hair isn't too exciting either. The little skull pin would be enough for her to stand out in a lineup of similarly dressed characters, but the raiment is her character design. It's huge, it's pink, but most importantly, it looks good. It sticks out, yes, but not as an eyesore, as a fashion statement. Now, this is a little besides the point, but I decided to look up what other shows were airing with this one, just to see how similar they actually looked in. Orihime looks a little similar if you squint. Index, kind of. But then you have like Bakuman, Panty and Stocking, Kuragahime, MM, Iron Man. These all look completely different. And not even talking about the quality of shows here. Just looking at the fall 2021's lineup, and it's just depressing. What happened, bros? Where's the soul? The second thing I need to make clear is that this show is actually good. I have a history of analyzing all the interesting aspects of a piece of media for half an hour, only to come to the conclusion that I don't really like it that much. This is not one of those times. Aside from all the extra textual examinations I'll be doing in this video, the moment-to-moment experience of the show is enjoyable. That's because, unlike many other harem anime, The World God Only Knows has a plot with an end goal. Now, that end goal may be a bit indistinct and on an indefinite timetable, but it's nice to know that it's there. It's structured more as a Monster of the Week battle manga than a romantic comedy. In execution, it shares the same lineage as House MD and Sherlock Holmes in the 22nd century, and that's high praise. Anyway, now that we got all the basic stuff out of the way, we can finally get into the real point of this video, which is harem anime. Stop! We don't need any more. I understand that every year another batch of kids turns 14 and they need easy access to objectifiable women, but we have enough already. There's a healthy backlog. They can have a hand-me-down waifu. I say this not because I dislike harem anime, I just feel the genre has run its course and we, as a society, are doing nothing to innovate on this concept. Back in my day, we had 12-year-old wizard boys becoming the teacher for a class of older girls while also doing cool magic martial arts. What do we have nowadays? Oh, he likes a girl he goes to school with and then another girl likes him? Wow, what's this one about? Oh, it's the same plot as Love Hina? That's cool. Speaking of Love Hina, I made another video about modern harem anime like a year ago, so you should watch that. The World God Only Knows is a clear product of its time. During the early 2000s, there was an explosion of anime adaptations of popular visual novel dating sims like Clannad, and dating sims in general were more popular. Those two things are related, obviously. And as anime does, the culture was cannibalizing itself with a similar increase in meta elements. The Bakemonogatari books, Haruhi Suzumiya, Lucky Star, Welcome to the NHK, Kappa Mikey, Gurren Lagann, Genshiken, the Evangelion rebuilds. Can you believe they gave Rei long hair in the new Eva movie? Fucking bullshit. Fuck you, Anno. Anyway, since visual novels were popular, it was only a matter of time before there was an anime protagonist whose whole deal was being good at visual novels. Which to me, sounds like we've come full circle. You can't get real women, so you love an anime girl. You make a video game so you can interact with an anime girl, and then the video game anime girl becomes a real anime girl, and then there's an anime where a guy uses knowledge from the anime girl games to get quote-unquote real girls who are actually still anime girls. The next logical evolution would be if a real person used the show about getting real anime girls with knowledge from getting fake anime girls to get real actual girls. That person is me. But since Shinzo Abe keeps ignoring my phone calls, the Dunekun harem anime probably isn't happening anytime soon. If you were wondering, the Dunekun anime would be handled by Silverlink, and Samba Master would be doing the opening. Also, it would be directed by Tetsuya Ishihara. Instead of capitalizing on this $1 million idea, Japan decided to let the harem genre die out and be replaced by the "man, this guy knows a lot of girls" genre. I define a "man, this guy knows a lot of girls" show as a show where a guy knows a lot of girls. Because let's be real, you still get to look at all these anime girls and pick your favorite. It's basically a harem show. Example of this genre are Sword Art Online and Bakemonogatari. Of course, traditional harems have still been coming out, like Nisekoi and that Quintet show. But overall the genre has slowed down and most entries are lackluster. And now it's time for the obligatory weird metaphor. Drumroll please. The World God Only Knows is like... Put your guesses in the comments now. The World God Only Knows is like... Blazing Saddles. Did you guess it? If so, congratulations. If not, better luck next time. So if you don't know, Blazing Saddles is a film that couldn't be made today, mostly because it wouldn't make any fucking sense. The film was a love letter / parody to Western movies that, if you didn't know, dominated the movie industry up until like the 70s. Like you could not go to the theater without seeing multiple Westerns out. Think of how superhero movies are now, but then just double it and stretch it for 40 years. But when you get a critically acclaimed box office smash hit that just flips the entire genre on its head, you can't really keep going on like nothing happened. I mean you can, and people did, but notice how you don't really see a lot of traditional Westerns out anymore. It's like making a game with tank controls after Super Mario 64. It's possible, but you're just setting yourself up for failure. And that same reason is probably why shows don't present themselves as harems anymore. The genre tag has been tainted. For a while, it was sort of a joke that every anime coming out had a harem, and that caused a schism at some point. A lot of the shows that are basically harms distanced themselves as best they could, and the ones that remained leaned in super heavy to the fan service. And the hypersexualization of the genre then led to more people distancing themselves as anime became more mainstream. And while there are still normal harem animes coming out, I guess shows about being desired by multiple women just isn't relatable to modern audiences. I mean, older audiences couldn't relate either, but we were more depraved. Feminists, otaku or not. By the way, do people still say otaku? I never see younger people identifying as that. I feel like I'm talking about Vietnam sometimes. People say weeaboo or weeb, that's it. That's only as an insult. Weird. Hopefully this video has served you well, and you're now ready to watch The World God Only Knows. And you better fucking like it, you got that? You better not make me write a review of the actual show. You think with the backlog of my videos, you'd be able to form a decent opinion without me spoon feeding it to you, but I guess not. Unless you've already liked this show before the video, then you're cool. We could hang out and maybe get some pizza later if you're not doing anything. I know people are gonna watch this show and still don't like it. They're just too dumb to realize I'm smarter than them. How do I save these wayward souls from their own ignorance? Actually, don't tell me if you didn't like this show. I don't want to know. Just let me live in peace. Get out of my house. Stop making me talk about media, please. I just want to see my wife and kids.